Hi, everybody. It's Dr. Bob here. Sorry for the delay. Coordinating here with my partner for tonight's live event. I'm also waiting. It's possible that we have a guest joining us tonight. I'm not sure exactly. We may have crossed wires. I'm double checking here. Second. We're here on Facebook Live and YouTube Live tonight, and our topic is how to explore who you are. And it relates to a blog post that we posted earlier this week. And I want to talk about this for a few minutes tonight. And hopefully we'll have a guest joining us. And if we don't, it could be because there's storms on the eastern seaboard, and it might well have affected our being able to connect tonight. Give me just 1 second. I'll be right back. We're trying to coordinate a couple of things here, and I'm sorry for any glitches that you're experiencing on your end. It's sometimes interesting. Okay, good. My partner confirms that we're at least online, and that's good. So, all right. My guest is it looks like my guest is going to be joining me momentarily. Let me introduce this topic, and then we'll have a few minutes with my guest joining here shortly. Our topic, how to explore who we really are. I'll tell you, this was inspired by a live event last Friday night with my dear friend Angela McLeod. She's a huge contributor to everything related to your Vitality Project. And Angela and I were talking about how to build self-esteem, what goes into building self-esteem. And traditionally, psychology is focused on what's referred to as self-efficacy. That is, doing things with competence and reflecting on that, internalizing that, feeling good about ourselves. That's the basis of feeling positive self-esteem. Angela raised a really important point, and that is, maybe how we deal with the lack of success is also relevant. And I couldn't agree more. And it was a blind spot for me. I missed it. It was in my peripheral vision, if that. And I really do agree with her about this, is that it's just important for us to reflect on times that we maybe make a mistake. Maybe we're in a learning process and have yet to perfect something. Maybe we're just human. And that positive self-esteem may have as much to do about self-compassion in those moments as it does with success in other moments. And so how we deal with success and failure on a continuum may be a more, it feels like a more complete discussion. Excuse me. We didn't set it up this way tonight. But it's the way that it goes sometimes, is that one out of every however many presentations here at your Vitality Project, think about this in your own life. If you cook one out of however many meals, if you wake up in the morning, and let's all consider ourselves blessed to wake up, is that when we wake up in the morning, one out of however many days, just we wake up and get out of bed on the wrong foot. And you know what I mean by that, is that being human is to have to deal with disappointment, failure, mistakes. And here comes my guest right now, and here he is. Hello, Douglas. Good to see you.
Good to see you.
I'm happy you're here. I told them that because of storms on the eastern seaboard, it's anybody's guess. And so that you made it here in snowshoes makes me happy.
Yep, uphill both ways, all the way to the top of the mountain.
That's right. You guys, my friend Doug gets a Purple Heart for being here with us tonight. Doug, I'll tell you what we're doing is I've just introduced the topic from the post that you saw today too. And we're particularly interested in looking at how do we include self-compassion for our foibles as human beings in whatever formula we might have for positive self-esteem. It was introduced by Angela on Friday night's post, and I just began talking into it right now when you're here. I think I've kind of laid the groundwork for looking at a more comprehensive foundation for how we feel about ourselves. I'd love to hear, Doug, since you've come in, if you've got the snow brushed off your shoulders and can join us, I'd love to invite any reflections you might bring to this, Doug. Please. Yeah.
Self-compassion is a really tough one for me. Always had. I've always tended to hold myself to higher and different than I've held for other, which was a huge contributing factor to my need to self-medicate as well.
Yeah.
I've been working on treating myself the way I would treat others. The best advice that was given to me was to talk to myself.
Doug, there's a bit of a slapback echo going on, and I don't know if that can be remediated or not. And I'm sure you're doing it on purpose, because we're just going to talk about things that don't go well.
Yeah.
It's not that you're not understandable, but if there's a way to eliminate that, it'll be clear. If not, we'll just forge forward. Okay. It's just a single echo, just bap, 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 like that.
Okay.
I'm pretty sure Mercury's in retrograde tonight.
Must be.
Yeah. Let's hear. Let's see if
that's any better. I'm not sure.
Yeah, it's eliminated it. Thank you.
Great.
Yeah, and now we have ambiance too. You're in a cathedral. Yeah, I'm sorry, Doug. I want to back up. It was distracting to me, and I just wanted to interrupt you. I'm sorry.
Sure.
You were speaking into how this is relevant to your life, including you and I are both in recovery, and both of us know that this can be a major rabbit hole, more like a black hole in the middle of our addictions to self-medicate. Because if we can't allow ourselves to be human, and all of us are, then we've got a huge problem right in the center of our lives.
Right. And further complicated by the fact that because of my struggles in addiction, I hold on to a lot of shame from that and feel like I have to do even better and be even better than I would normally expect from someone to atone for the mistakes. And
yeah,
true. And it's a very damaging belief, but it's been a really tough one to break. And what I try to do, or have started trying to do, is to see myself in that I would speak to a friend. Were a friend to come to me and explain a difficult situation they were in, or a mistake they had made, I would have very good, passionate to say. It's harder to say it to myself, and when I reframe it that way, or even think, what if I were my son and speaking to son that way?
Yeah, it's beautiful. Yeah.
Try to talk to myself in that way. It again comes down to the self-awareness and mindfulness. Catch myself in those moments. It can be really difficult, especially when I'm elevated, when I'm in a red mode, to catch that negative self-talk that's happening, and that's of course the time when it's most important to it.
Yeah. Doug, we still have the same phenomenon going on audibly. If there's no way to remediate it, I want to continue on. I didn't interrupt you because the content you're talking about, I just hate to interrupt you. It's really important content. And I don't know, it could be idiosyncratic. If it's on my end in my earbuds, that'd be a grace. I just don't know what it is. If you have any thoughts about it. I can hear it echoing on your end, actually, as I'm speaking. Yeah. Is it something I can do on my end, Doug?
Let's see. That's any better now.
Why don't you just do a test pattern or something, Doug? I think it sounded fine, and then as soon as you began to speak, I got the echo again.
And you still have the echo again now?
No, it's gone.
Okay. Well, let's hope that will do.
Well, it's back again. I don't. You guys, I want you to know something, is that Doug has more expertise in audio stuff than anybody I know. So if we can't figure this out, we're just going to keep going. Okay, because I'm of no help here, unfortunately.
Mm-hmm.
We're just hanging on for a second to see if there's anything we can do.
And this would be the one last thing to try.
Okay. Okay. Maybe if you speak a sentence or two, I think if you say a word or two, I don't get it, but once you get going, I can it kicks in. And I don't know if it's on the other audience's end or not. So.
All right, that would be the last thing to try. Is that any better?
Well, why don't we start? Why don't you say a sentence or two? I'm sorry.
Okay. Well, we can return to it from there and see if that's any better. I to a different microphone and then back to the phone. I also switched the connection.
Yeah, yeah. It's still there, and I don't know what's going on, Doug. I'm sorry. It's Doug, I don't think it's bothersome enough. If people listening value this content, I think you can make it. It's just there, and I'd rather just keep going. So, yeah. You were talking about talking with friends, and let's just keep going because it's just here, and we'll manage it. It's where life imitates art, or art imitates life, or whatever is going on. Yeah, I'm not sure. It's come up in the distant past, but not for a long spell. What we're talking about is how much easier it is to dispense compassion to others than it is to ourselves. And I believe that's virtually universal, Doug. You and I worked together on this freedom of forgiveness, these tracks together, and I've utilized that material in with hundreds of clients at this point in treatment centers. And when we go through those forgiveness exercises, the first two strands, as you recall, are granting forgiveness and asking for forgiveness and granting forgiveness. The third one is granting self-forgiveness, forgiveness to ourselves. And it's always, always, always that one that throws people for a loop. And they just acknowledge, it's like, I've never done that. I can't do that. Nothing happens when I try. It's really challenging. I wonder if you want to say a word more about that, because I think it's right at the heart of this conversation today. We're talking about building real self-esteem. It means, particularly when we're down in the shadowy stuff that we're talking about.
Yeah, that is always one of the most difficult parts of that met into. Sometimes asking for forgiveness from others is one that I go with, but certainly self-forgiveness. And unchecked, that can lead to the feelings that start down the route. I'm 8 years out from that point now, but I know the process. I know how it kept me a long time. I'm in. Early in my quest towards sobriety, I was in an inpatient rehab facility where we had an exercise to write a letter of self-forgiveness, which we then ceremonially dispensed of as a symbolic gesture. And I really struggled with that, did the best I could, but I still remember that as being one of the most difficult things. I had a really hard time letting go of the mistakes I had made, and believe that I deserved the suffering, the pain that it was hard for me to learn to allow myself to be human and let go of that desire to punish myself for those mistakes, because I did mess up. I did hurt people. Not the least of all myself. And has been hard to accept that I can't change what happened past, but I can live better. And I don't do that perfectly either.
No.
It's is one of the cases where I just have to try and keep moving forward. And that's something I hope we all would continue to put forth our best effort to do. A really easy read classic that I keep coming back to is For Agreements by Juan Miguel Ruiz, where the fourth agreement that we make with ourselves is to always do our best and understand that some days are going to be better than others, some are going to be worse than others. We're going to be perfect, but as long as we keep to the best of our abilities, enough.
Yeah, at the end of the day, if I feel like I've done my best, and whether I've succeeded or not, you know, in terms of whatever aims I have, if I've done my best, I can go to sleep with a clear conscience, and ideally with a solid sense of self. I call it a good tired. At the end of the day, I feel a good tired. This is a good day, you know. Yeah, I put these resources, Doug, in our chat here. The Freedom of Forgiveness project that you and I worked on together. I recommend that to anybody who's interested. You can go online and read more about that. And Four Agreements by 𝗪𝗪𝗃𝗲, which is such a classic, and I'm glad that you drew upon that. You and I both talked so much about this over the years, including with our engagement in the Freedom of Forgiveness project, that shame will basically suck the life right out of us, and that it's whatever the. I think of sometimes shame is the opposite of shame is self-compassion. That's how I think about it. So what can I do to cultivate self-compassion? And in the absence of that, I really appreciate you sharing personally, Doug, what you were sharing. And I think your story is every man's and every woman's story. I think all of us have our version of that. We're like moths to a flame in terms of our mistakes, of our so-called imperfections, etc. And I think if we don't really exercise these muscles, like you're talking about in the Four Agreements, or that you and I work together in terms of forgiveness practice, I think it's like a strange attractor. Our bodies, our souls will orient towards self-criticism and shame, and it's killing. It's a killing energy. For some, it manifests as depression. Others, it manifests as chronic anxiety. All of the above, and you and I also know addiction to substances. It's a primary root, I believe, of addictions of every kind, whether to substances or behaviors or even attitudes. One of the attitudes I think about is self-criticism or shame. How it is possible to just get locked into that, and it's implied in what you were saying. It's every bit as addictive as any substance that you can imagine.
Yeah, I really like your emphasis on the fact that dealing with that toxic shame can manifest itself in so many toxic ways too. Yeah. For myself certainly as addiction, but there are so many other ways that it can affect us. And while it is incredibly painful to face, the consequences of not doing so continue to dig deeper and deeper. That is more and more difficult to escape from. And also, there are so many places that this can come from. It can begin in childhood. There are for a lot of people, element of influence from your peers, and some social rejection can be from parents, can be from society and culture at large, asking us to measure up to an impossible and false standard that no one can ever match. It's really an epidemic coming from all directions.
Yeah. Just talking this afternoon with a client just a short while ago, who is a generation younger than me, probably going on 2 generations, like a generation and a half younger than me. And she was talking about how epidemic this is in her generation, just what we're talking about with ever increasing expectations. She was attributing it in part to social media and the comparisons that go on in social media. Really is tragic and painful. Doug, I'm writing something here in the notes too. I want to mention this only, and came as I was listening to you. I've been working this afternoon on the finishing touches for a workshop that we're providing here next Saturday, a week from this Saturday, at your Vitality Project. And the title of it, I just put there in the chat. It's Center Your Mind, Reduce Your Stress. But what I'm doing at the heart of that is looking at cognitive resources that we have, and it's implied, at least indirectly, in what you're talking about right now, is when we place what our mutual friend 𝗪𝗪 𝗪𝗪𝗪 has written about this in his Mind Body Workbook for Addiction. When we place these requirements on ourselves, I've referred to them in my own life as unrelenting standards those can drive us right into addiction or keep us in it for sure. And this workshop next Saturday is going to end up really centering around this theme of how it is that our requirements. I might prefer for today to go a certain way, but when I turn that into a must, that it has to go this way or I'm going to be miserable, well, that's I think every religious tradition, I'm thinking of Christianity and Buddhism come to mind right now. They say that's right at the heart of our suffering. And so that's really what the workshop is about. So there's the resources that you've mentioned, that I've mentioned, the things that you and I worked on together. And also, I just recommend anybody who has half curiosity about what we're talking about to come to the workshop, because we'll be doing exercises to kind of flesh out how can we begin to translate or convert kind of unconscious requirements, because they're quite automatic. You know, how can we become conscious of them, first of all, and how can we begin to translate those into something that's more user-friendly, something where there's more grace?
And it seems almost cliche to ask what's good about this, but I had it to be so incredibly helpful, or how can I appreciate this differently, or what might this open up, or how I use this, what can I learn from this wouldn't otherwise have been open to. And even just a little crack to let a little bit of light in be enough to start that process.
Yeah, I really appreciate what you're saying. Doug, we'll be back for more of this. We're going to wind up in just a moment. I appreciate you joining us tonight at a late hour amidst whatever else is going on in life, and just sharing this. And I'm sorry for the technology. I'm hoping that the pearl came through. I got it from what you're saying. Your presence is so rich and deep, and it's with much respect. Yeah, I really appreciate you being with us tonight. We'll be back together here in a couple of weeks, and maybe we'll follow up on this a bit more. It'll be, in fact, when we come back together, it'll be right on the heels of this workshop, which our conversation tonight actually helps to direct me very specifically with what I'd like to host in that workshop, in hopes that we can make some progress together. So thank you, Douglas. I wish you a safe and good evening. Okay. Blessings to you. And I'll see you in a couple of weeks here. Okay. Thank you. And thanks everybody for joining us tonight. Thank you all. Good night. Good night. Hey, partner. Hey, partner.